Hello, Rockstar SLPs. This is Felice Clark, the Dabbling Speechy. And guess what? I went live at 5 p.m. and I somehow clicked the button off and it only recorded me for about 7.5 minutes. I proceeded to chat about spring speech therapy ideas for another 20 minutes and didn't even know that I wasn't really live because when I look at everything on the camera, I completely get distracted. So, anyways, I'm back on live because I really wanted to record and talk to you all about spring speech therapy ideas that you can use to work on speech and language skills for the rest of April. And I wanted to make sure I get this recorded so that if you were tuning in live earlier and you're like, where the heck did she go? You can watch the entire Facebook Live. So today, I am Felice Clark, the Dabbling Speechy. I'm a school-based speech language pathologist who has worked with preschool to high school, but most of my caseload has been elementary and middle school. And within the last 4 or 5 years, I really have been serving K2 students, specifically kids that are in, self-contained classrooms that have communication, complex communication needs. And I wanted to talk with you all. I have some goodies to share with you, a lot of free activities and ideas. But when I'm planning therapy, I like to plan by themes. And when I plan by themes, I try to also plan it to where I can cover that theme with my younger students and my older students as well, because it helps me with figuring out what I'm going to do for therapy. I mean, raise your hand in the comments if you have been scrambling to find activities. You're so overwhelmed with your paperwork. The cognitive load for you is just really heavy that you don't really know what you're doing group by group. And that happened to me a lot when I was covering a caseload of 75 students from kindergarten to 6th grade. So what I found to be the best was if I could pick a theme and cover as many groups as I possibly can. It didn't always work out perfectly, but if I could cover a lot of goals, I was able, I felt a lot better about my sessions. It was a lot easier for me to learn the content as well. If I was teaching on something specific, like a plant life cycle, if I could do that for preschool all the way to 6th or 7th grade, it was it was perfect, right? So here are some themes that you can do for the spring season. And a theme really it could even just be like kindness. It could be the book We're Going on a Bear Hunt, or it could be very, very specific, like learning about wind or spring weather or picnics. And so what I do specifically when I am planning for these spring themes is I am looking for books, videos. I'm looking for, activities that will cover my speech and language goals, anything that will add to that theme that will help my students practice something related to their IEPs, I will do that. So, for example, since I am more of a type B SLP, I am basically a shover organizer. I like to organize things by shoving it in a place because I don't have enough time to, perfectly put all the sentence frames in one little pouch and then another, I don't have time for that. So what I like to do is I like to get a scrapbook box and I stick all my push-in lessons. I have spring push-in, insect push-in lesson plans, and a lot of them have like core boards, and it has 3 different types of language activities, and I just need them to stay in one spot. So I got little pouches from the Dollar Tree. They're the best pouches. I stick everything I need in there, and then I put them in the scrapbook bin with the books and anything else that will fit in there so that I can easily transport it in my 31 bag to different classrooms. And then when I'm done with it, I just store it in my garage. But if you can store it in your room, that's great. I would definitely do that. So that is one way that I plan. And then next year, when I'm ready to do spring again, I already have all my materials that I've already collected right here. The other way that I also organize and plan by themes is I plan by using Google Slides and organizing things in Google folders. Now, a lot of you may be going, but Elise, I don't have any time to plan by themes right now. I get it. What I did when I had a big giant caseload was I would pick a couple of books that I wanted to use. So like The Very Hungry Caterpillar is a book that I typically like to use every year. And I would start grabbing materials as I was doing things in the week with students, kind of on the fly. If I liked a YouTube video, I saved it. I would do that type of saving and organizing as I was doing therapy, so that next year I already had all those materials in one spot, and then I can just add or change or put in new activities, so that if I had students from the previous year, I could still do that theme and make it feel novel and fun. And so, for example, if you are digitally doing therapy, teletherapy in particular, or if you are doing whole class instruction or even small group, but whole class instruction that has an Apple TV or a smart TV in the classroom, you can organize your materials by putting everything in Google Slides. So you can put the spring language videos, you can put the digital activities and the task cards all in one spot, so that you have access to everything right there. You can even link to Boom cards, you can link to a website, you can link your PDF to the Google Slide, so that everything is right there. So you're not freaking out about, where's that thing that I was going to use? Where's that YouTube video? It's all right there. And I started using Google Slides when I started really going into the classroom on a regular basis for my special day classrooms, and saw their smartboard and said, I need to get in on that. And so part of my whole class lesson I would do on my smartboard with Google Slides. So I had been doing Google Slides before COVID. And then when COVID hit, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to up my game here, because I'm doing teletherapy, I'm doing virtual push-in, I'm doing individual therapy and small groups, and I need everything in one spot. And so I started updating all of my push-in lesson plan guides to have these very complete Google Slides, so that I could be adaptable and versatile with whatever group I was seeing and not be stressed out. So can I get an amen to anyone tuning in? If that's how you feel right now. You want to feel less stressed. I'm getting a link for you right now. I have a free spring YouTube video Google Slide. It has everything organized by spring songs, spring language videos, spring book read alouds, spring social pragmatic videos, and they are all on one slide. So let me see if I can pull this back. So they're like, let's go a little bit. They're like this. They're all organized, so they're in one spot. So I'm going to put the link there in case you have not grabbed this. And if you have grabbed it, let me know in the comments if it's helping you with planning therapy. And if you are new to planning therapy by themes, I really think the best place to start is with YouTube videos and anything that is like a material item, like a game or books. Books, YouTube videos, anything you can grab off the shelf, because it's no prep. So that means it's, you don't feel like you have to prep a bunch of stuff. And YouTube videos has always been an engaging tool for me with students in person or virtually, because they just have been growing up with YouTube. So I've gotten on board, and I definitely put, I know a lot of brain break songs and stuff now because of YouTube. So okay, so that is how I plan therapy and for spring. And I really like spring because when I do plan therapy, I'm using that theme either all month long or for at least 2 weeks. You do not want to plan therapy for 1 week unless you can just grab things off the shelf and go. A theme can be utilized for 2 to 4 weeks. And it's really good for our students because, as we know, a lot of them with language impairments, they need those increased engagements with words and grammar and all those pieces. And so why are we going to just do a theme for 1 week and do all that work and then just be like, okay, we're going to do another theme, when we can continually bring in the same materials? Or maybe we switch out one little piece of an activity and put in a new one to make it feel novel, but continue to bring in the same types of activities so that our students are getting more practice and comfortable with the lesson, and you're getting comfortable with teaching the content. So I'm a big pro fan of that. So let's first talk about using spring vocabulary, so actual spring vocabulary, to cover a lot of different grammar goals and other types of WH goals. This is how I use any type of, especially like the seasonal vocabulary. This is how I use it to target vocabulary and hit really good grammar intervention. So this first idea is you can use spring vocabulary that is similar, and you can compare and contrast them by attribute and feature matching, right? So you can compare and contrast spring vocabulary by feature matching, and are their attributes similar or different? And I like to use this free, I'm going to grab it here if I can find it. I like to use this free compare and contrast graphic organizer to really help show my kids how nouns can be similar and different. And so it's a great tool. I'm going to look it up right now because I thought I had it up. It's a great tool. And for example, if you were going to compare and contrast water bottle and juice box, because those are things that you would maybe take on a picnic or eat with your lunch, they're both in the category of containers, and they both of their functions are that they hold liquids. So they're different because one is typically made out of plastic or metal, and a juice box is usually made out of like paper product. So do you see how you can compare and contrast those two things? You're building their depth of knowledge with the vocabulary word by going deep with the features. So you are hitting an evidence-based practice for that. And you're doing a skill that our students need in the classroom. So you're helping with generalization. So if you do this, you're a rock star SLP. And if you need some cards already picked out, all these activities are in my spring vocabulary and grammar activity set for K through second grade. And here is that free graphic organizer. All right, let me see where I'm at. So the other thing that you can do is you can take spring action words and play verb charades. And of course, you can also take spring verbs and play go fish, memory, the flashlight game. You can hide them around the room. I like to take my spring verbs from my spring vocabulary and grammar set, and I like to put those paper clips and use magnetic wands. So there's a lot of things that you could do with spring verbs, but in particular, you can use spring verbs to play charades with your students. And after they guess the verb that they were acting out, then you can talk about how could you use these verbs for other situations? So for example, you can blow bubbles. You can also see a kite blowing in the wind. And your dad can also blow the leaves with the leaf blower. Just like with catch, you can catch a butterfly. You can catch a ball. What else can you catch, everyone? Can you think of something else? So I hope that explains how you can play verb charades, but you're also attaching word associations and you're giving them practice using those verbs for a variety of sentences and meanings, which is really going to help them stick that vocabulary and those grammar concepts. As well as you can also work on making grammatically correct sentences with your students, practicing past tense, present tense, future tense, all those types of things. And so some other things that you can do is, this is from my spring grammar and vocabulary set. I like just having this poster. I like that this goes with any spring book I'm reading. I also will have just spring vocabulary that we will describe by attributes. And I have two copies. Yeah, there's two different ones. So I have two different posters, and then it's right there for me to help the student make connections with these spring vocabulary words. It's part of their environment right now. They're all experiencing spring weather, so it helps them with making connections. And then like over here, I'm trying to see if you can see this. You can make sentences talking about the different items and work on plural nouns, noun verb agreement, prepositional phrases. So there's a ton of stuff that you can do with spring vocabulary to especially target grammar. Okay. The other thing that you can do, if you are doing teletherapy, if you're able to use sensory bins in person, you can definitely still do this in teletherapy, because you can use your document camera or your Osmo, and you can play a game called Can You Find It? And you can put spring vocabulary words in your sensory bin, and then you can work on beginning inferencing skills and asking them, can you find something that you wear? And then the student has to either tell you if they're doing it virtually, or they look in the sensory bin. And after they find that item, then you can work on that depth of knowledge and talk about the features of the raincoat. They found the raincoat because that's something that you wear. And you can also work on building sentences with the student, and what did they hide under the grass. So there's a lot of pronoun work that they can do. They can build longer utterances. So there's a lot of really fun opportunities with using a Can You Find It sensory bin. And that is in my spring push-in lesson plan guides. Okay, so this next idea. Raise your hand, put in the comments if you like to do crafts. So I really like to do crafts once a month. If they're kind of more complicated, I'll maybe do them once every 2 months. If they're super simple, I may do crafts more than once a month. But this craft right here, the windsock craft, I've been doing this for, I think, 4 or 5 years, and it is the best bang for your buck craft, because you can use it over multiple sessions. It's something that the student can then play with, and then they can even take it home for additional practice at home and play with it as well. So this is like, if you're kind of like, I don't know, Felice, I don't know if I can do crafts right now. This is not that hard to prep. And I'm going to tell you, it's easy. And I have my examples for you. And you will like it. And guess what? When you're done with this craft, I did this last week for push-in. The kids were talking, they were initiating communication. There's so much engagement that I was definitely like, oh yeah. Did you just see that, teachers? I got them to use their AAC device. Or did you see me modeling with that core board? I did have a little bit of like, I'm doing good today, because I was feeling a little bit in the dumps a couple of weeks ago about my therapy. And so this definitely picked me up. So if you need to pick me up, you got to do it. Okay, so here's an example, and then I will show you what you could do with this. So this is a 12 by 18 paper, and it's a blank canvas. So this is your foundation for your therapy. You can put whatever you want on that piece of paper. So each student can be working on their goals. And for example, if you have grammar students working on building sentences, they can look at pictures from Google Photos of spring activities, or find your boom cards, and they can write a who did what, where sentence on their craft. And then after that, they get to make, I'm going to take this off so you can see it. Then they make their windsock craft. All right. You can either get streamers or strips of paper. If you have articulation or phonology students, or students who are working on verbs or some sort of like prepositions. They can glue or write their speech words on the paper and then make their windsock craft. And then they take it home and they practice afterwards. And I'm going to show you what you can do with it when you play with it. Let's say we really just want to go deep about the spring season. So you're going to use this as a graphic organizer. I mean, right now you're going, I could do this. This isn't that hard, right? And people are going to think like, wow, she's an amazing speech pathologist. I'm being sarcastic, but I really feel like this activity is a breath of fresh air. If you've been feeling just like, I don't like my job, you need to do this craft. You can talk about activities that you do in the spring season, clothes that you wear, toys that you use, and voila. Now, last idea. You can use this windsock craft to actually teach your older students about how a windsock works. It's a tool that's used by pilots to know which way the wind goes. So there's a lot of science in it. I have a blog post if you want the link to the windsock craft blog post with some YouTube videos that can be really helpful for teaching tier 2 vocabulary, summarizing, answering WH questions. And then you could even, as a group for your older students, you guys can write your own summary about how a windsock works. And you can work on main idea, details, conclusion, all that stuff. Okay? Now, once you have this craft completed, this is what really brings me joy is when I see my K2 students, especially, we go outside and we work on basic concepts like high, low. We work on up, down. We work on around. I was watching kids, they loved it. I was watching novel initiation, a social communication, like run with me. This is fun. You can work on core vocabulary, go, stop, run fast, run slow, following directions. For some of your students, maybe they have to shift perspective to do what the person wants to do with their windsock craft, and then they get to share their idea for what they want to do with the windsock craft. So there is just a ton of like playing that can go on with this windsock craft. And you can talk about how it's really helpful on a windy day. So many fun things with that craft. Let me know in the comments if this is something that you could see your students really getting into and what goals you may use to cover with this windsock craft. I would love to know. So I'm going to get myself organized for this next spring therapy idea. Let me see. Okay, so I'm going to show you one more idea, and then we will call it a night because I know it's late for you East Coasters. So when I pick a theme, I try to think about, could I use this with my younger students? And can I use this also with some of my older students if they're interested? So I definitely like interview my older kids and ask them if they think it's like, are you cool with this subject? And I have to do that with my younger kids too, because there's some things that they are not into it. But most of my younger kids love bugs. So I definitely do bugs every year. But one thing that you can do for younger and older kids is what's the word? Oh, plant life cycle. Okay, so 6th, 7th grade, they're hitting in science, they're hitting life sciences. So you're hitting those standards for the older kids. And then for the younger kids, it's just a great language opportunity, and you can even incorporate gardening. So I'm going to give you a bunch of just ideas for how to incorporate talking about like a flower life cycle or a plant life cycle with your students across like preschool all the way up to middle school. So here is a flower garden sensory bin. I got most of these things at the dollar store. So if you're having to make individual stations because of COVID restrictions, you can just buy like the little potted plants, like they each can have their own station, and you can, have them each make their own little flowers. It's not as fun as just being able to dig your hands in the sensory bin, but this could be a great way to talk about flower parts and the flower life cycle. But then on top of that, for your high school kids, for your life school classes, maybe you can actually plant a garden and talk about gardening and all the tools that are being used and really get some good engagement by getting outside and planting stuff. For your second to fifth grade students, you could even do a craft or I've even seen those like life cycle crafts where it's like you fold a piece of paper, you cut 4 slits, and then they draw each step of the life cycle. You could do a flower craft like this to show how you grow a flower and work on the sequencing and the transition words and all the grammar structures that go with explaining a process. Let me see here. I don't know if you all have heard of Mystery Doug, but it is a great tool. There is a free version, and I think you can get a trial that will last till June, but I use it with my 3rd grader. I paid for the yearly subscription because I'm homeschooling her right now, and it's worth its money. Because like the plant section that I can do with her, it has like 5 different lessons, and they usually come with a science experiment. So if you are trying to figure out ways that you could push into a general education classroom for some of your students and co-teach and cover their goals, mystery science could be a way to get buy-in from the teacher, but you can also do it in your speech room too. And what I love about Mystery Doug, I think what sold me from very long ago, is that when he does a science experiment, he videos exactly what you're supposed to do every single step of the way so that your kids that are more visual, that need the visual directions, they can follow along. And I don't want to say it's like it makes it brainless for us, but it makes it just reduce the cognitive load for us as educators to be able to explain these concepts and the flow of the lesson without going, oh my gosh, what am I going to do next? Okay, what do I have to say next? It really does. It just helps it so that you can teach the content without stressing out. So I definitely recommend that. And then there are a ton of really good plant life cycle YouTube videos, and a lot of those are listed in that free spring YouTube video freebie that I made you. And I'm going to get the link again and put it in the comments in case you haven't grabbed it yet. But I love SciShow Kids because she has a lot of really quick 4 to 5 minute videos that cover concepts like this. There's a lot of other videos as well if you just search on YouTube. So these can be really just a great no prep. You get into the lesson and you use this as your guide. So this is definitely, I think that is it for just the flower life cycle. But as you can see with that example, you can use it across the ages and still get in a lot of targets for students. And for your older students, you could even incorporate, pollination. You can compare and contrast different types of life cycles. So you could do flower life cycles and then a different type of life cycle. And then the next week you can compare and contrast it. So it just builds on it, what you were already teaching, and makes you feel a little less like, what am I going to do next week? I don't know if you've ever felt like that, but I definitely have. Okay, I forgot. I have one more quick idea for you. And I don't know if I put it in this. Okay, I will still just share my screen now. All right, I think you will like this. I don't know if you can. Wait, hold on. Bear with me. I feel like I'm on a Zoom call. Bear with me. Can you see that, everyone who is on? I don't think you can't. Now I'm going to show it in stream. So I'm going to go like this. So this is a free over here. This is a free sentence graphic organizer that's in my Teachers Pay Teachers store. I use it a lot with videos. I use it with real photos. I use it with storybooks. And especially when I have a student that they just say really simple sentences, but they really struggle with, when I do drill activities with them, they really struggle with learning the rules. And so this is a way that I can kind of reduce that cognitive load for them, because they're not only are being asked to talk about what's happening in the video, they're also having to recall vocabulary and verbs. And if we're wanting to make them feel successful, you can use a visual graphic organizer. And I love to use Simon Catt's videos because there's a ton of them. They are free. They are easily adaptable for a lot of goals. And they have I think they have like at least 4 or 5 spring videos. So I will show my students this video. And then after we watch the video, which is only a minute or 2 long, we then brainstorm adjectives, nouns, verbs, adverbs, and prepositional phrases. Now, when I was doing this in teletherapy, I used the Cami Chrome extension, and I would put it on one side with my graphic organizer, and then on the other, and then on another browser, like you're seeing now, I would put the Simon's Cat video. And this way, they can see the video and see the graphics organizer at the same time. And then I would share my whole screen on Zoom. And this is how I did it. So, and then after we watched the video again, we would then practice making sentences. So we might say, the little kitten teased the large cat by chasing him quickly around the fountain. And, you take a sentence that you would normally get from a student, like the cat is running, to now it has adjectives. It has, some maybe even unique verbs like peaked. It would have an adverb and a prepositional phrase. And then within that, you can also still correct them when maybe they're making some grammar errors with, noun verb agreement, or if they're deleting, a morpheme, you can address that with them within the context of the activity. So these are my go-tos for spring. This is what I go to during springtime. And I hope that it helps you with planning and feeling a little less stressed and overwhelmed with it. And if you have any questions about planning for themed therapy or needing ideas for spring, again, oh wait, I should probably stop sharing that. I'm going to go back. If you're just tuning in now, I showed, you can, remember, there's a lot of different themes that you can use for spring. And so, next month in May, start brainstorming what themes would my students maybe enjoy, or what do I enjoy? Because if I'm having fun, then they will have fun as well. All right. So anyways, thanks for tuning in with me, staying this long. I hope it was helpful. Again, this is Felice Clark, the Dabbling Speechy. Remember to be the SLP that every kid wants to see, and I will see you later. If you haven't heard, you could always check out and listen to me every week on my Real Talk SLP podcast show. So, all right, I don't know what else to say. I'm going to keep saying, stay tuned. See you later. Bye. Gotta go. When I'm on camera, I start rambling. I hope you all can relate to that. Anyways, talk to you later. Bye.